comfortably because he's got those reavers alive and he's allowed Bisu to come to him, and Bisu, I guess, felt that he needed to do something because his economy was in such terrible shape. He felt that he needed to make the push out, and Jangbi was able to hold his defensive position against Bisu and inflict severe damage, and now Jangbi's going to have an opportunity to cross that bridge because all the storms are used up, and I didn't see a lot of storms from Bisu. Bisu obviously stormed as well, but Jangbi's storm so much more effective, and Bisu losing his reavers early on. He did have that shuttle to use in that attack, but unfortunately he lost his reavers early on, and then from that point on it was easy. And you can just, if you look at the mini-map, you can just see the large yellow blob moving in the center, but there isn't an opposing blue blob to stand up to it. The blue blob is much smaller, and Jangbi continues to solidify his position. The only reason Bisu hasn't lost this game already is because of those bridges that are so damn hard to cross. Bisu once again coming in with the shuttle, trying to effect some sort of harass, this time dropping off at Jangbi's 9 o'clock expo. Okay, he's going to ignore that. He's going to go straight for the 10 o'clock expo. Jangbi does have a couple of photon cannons there. High Templar coming in, trying to catch the storm off on the probes, and the storms are not going to go up, so Bisu doesn't even get a chance to get the storm off, and Jangbi has been very sharp in this game. This time Bisu gets the drop off. Jangbi once again manages to avoid. The storm goes up, but Jangbi manages to pull his probes out. Bisu going back and forth. He does have enough energy left for one more storm, I believe, with the High Templar, but he's not going to drop the 10 o'clock expansion. Looks like he's going for Jangbi's main. I'm sure that main is probably mined out by now. Bisu dropping on the cliff above the 10 o'clock expansion, not able to get a storm off, and Bisu's harassment has been completely ineffective. It's just been impotent. Bisu needs some Viagra for this harassment. He really needs to inject some Viagra into his shuttles and into his High Templar and Dark Templar, and you can see the SKT1 mascot patting his head because he knows exactly what's going on. So Bisu's got that High Templar sitting up on the cliff, denying a little bit of mining to Jangbi above that 10 o'clock expo. That's not going to bother Jangbi at all. Bisu with a couple of Zealots and the High Templar, maybe waiting for the energy or maybe waiting for some probes to come back, hoping Jangbi would be careless and make a mistake. Jangbi is going to catch Bisu's shuttle though, and Bisu loses a shuttle. I'm not sure if that's the same shuttle that he was harassing Jangbi with or if it's a different shuttle, but that shuttle has gone down and Bisu's game plan is in tatters. And we're just seeing what kind of games we can expect in Protoss versus Protoss play on Destination. Bisu looks like with another shuttle still circling around, so it was a different shuttle that he lost. This time, dropping the Zealots to try and absorb some damage, hoping to catch the probes. Not able to do so. Another storm. This time, Bisu anticipates where the probes are going to move, catches about 3 or 4 probes, but it's not nearly enough to pull him back into this game. Jangbi still with a firm lead in this game, continue to build up a massive army. Bisu just about keeping that shuttle in the middle alive and the shuttle finally gets taken down. The High Templar is there, and that's going to get killed. It's just a question of whether he's going to get a storm off at all or not. I don't think he has the energy for a storm, so that High Templar is going to get killed, and Bisu's harassment will finally come to an end. But you're seeing on Destination how impossible nearly it is for a player to get across those bridges and really affect some damage on his opponent. Bisu tried to do that and paid a heavy price in the process. Now that Bisu obviously using the harass to try and lure Jangbi's forces away from the bridges so they can try and get some cross, and it looks like 3-1 upgrades for Bisu. Jangbi with 3... I couldn't get Jangbi's upgrades, unfortunately. I will definitely try. I keep getting caught up in the action and missing the upgrades, but I think regardless of the upgrades, it's really been... I don't think it's really been the upgrades. Bisu definitely with 3-1. Or is that 3-3? I must be going blind. But regardless of the upgrades, what's really killed Bisu in this game has been Jangbi's superior harass. Godlike harass by Jangbi, and conversely, Bisu's harass after that first double Nexus kill, Bisu just hasn't been able to really land any blows against Jangbi while he's been taking hits all over his body from his opponent. And you can just feel that Bisu is wounded and bleeding and his blood is running out. And he might have one last swing of the fist left in him, but it's got to be a knockout blow, otherwise he's going to be going down in this game. And Samson Khan are going to be enjoying this victory a lot, because that's going to give Bisu a little bit of a calm. If he can't beat Jangbi, Stork, who is probably considered overall to be the better player, perhaps, though I'm not 100% sure of his Protoss versus Protoss statistics compared to, say, Jangbi's. Jangbi, once again, this time Jangbi making the move, trying to cross the bridge, forced to pull back. Bisu with a decent mix of units, but you can see that his army is only about half the size of Jangbi's. Nevertheless, he's able to hold Jangbi off on his side of the map, but Jangbi's got such a huge advantage in terms of his economy and in terms of the size of his military that Bisu's going to have a really tough time here. Bisu managed to sneak a Zealot through just to do a little bit of harass at the 2 o'clock expo that Jangbi's trying to set up. Meanwhile, both players just going back and forth across the map, and this just doesn't speak well for this map. Yes, it can prove for some exciting dropship play, and we've seen a great game of StarCraft between these two players, but I don't like this constant back and forth across the bridges that has been forced upon these two players. Perhaps, or maybe, well, I guess it'll prove for some interesting strategies. It might provide a ground for players to try and experiment a little bit, maybe try and go air. Maybe we'll see a return to carriers from some players. Maybe we'll see more air use by Zerg. Who knows? Maybe we'll see battle cruisers by Terran. This has got to be a Terran dream to defend those bridges and to set up a Terran wall in front of those bridges and just let the enemy units break against the waves. And that's why I think the statistics are so lopsided on this map in favor of Terrans, especially versus Zergs, I believe. Bisu looks like he's getting another drop off, trying to do a little bit of harassment. Meanwhile, Jangbi, and yet again, Jangbi just continues time after time after time to deliver these hat tricks into Bisu's golds. Getting the storms off, Bisu's storms completely ineffective, and Jangbi now storming Bisu's shuttle. Bisu's going to finally, looks like, get some storm off and get some probe kills, but his High Templar is going to go down in quick time. Bisu only able to get the single storm off, and Bisu losing pretty much all of his probes that he had at that 4 o'clock expo, and since he's mined out in his main, I'd say that was the majority of his economy. Yeah, Bisu's left with something like, okay, Bisu does have a decent group of probes, and that is now being sent from his natural to that 4 o'clock remaining expo, which is the only remaining place where Bisu can really mine, because he's mined out in his main, and his natural's almost gone as well. Meanwhile, Jangbi is in a very comfortable position, and it's just a question of how long it takes for Jangbi to close this game out. I just don't see Bisu coming back in. Jangbi, meanwhile, dropping a DT. Bisu's built another expo at the 3 o'clock position. Jangbi's got a DT in there, just waiting for the probes to pop. Clever play by Jangbi, and in fact I think he'd be almost better off keeping that DT. There is an observer there. I'm not sure if that's Bisu's observer or Jangbi's. Bisu meanwhile with a single probe out builds a pylon. Jangbi kills it with a Dark Templar. Jangbi kills more probes. Bisu did have more probes there, and Bisu's just lost another 4 probes that he could ill afford to use, and Jangbi has done to Bisu what Bisu did to Hades in the last game. He's just keeping Bisu off balance with constantly reeling blows, knocking Bisu from side to side and not allowing Bisu to regain any sort of momentum or stability in this game whatsoever, and just terrorizing Jangbi with his impressive harass. Meanwhile, Bisu has prevented Jangbi from getting another expansion down at the 2 o'clock expansion, though Jangbi looks like he's taken another expansion at the 1 o'clock, and Jangbi with 1, 2, 3 bases to Bisu's, I guess, 2 at this point in time. Bisu finally managed to re-secure his expansion at the 3 o'clock base, so now he finally has 2 bases up and running. His natural probably mined out, but still again, Jangbi with a massive advantage, and Jangbi's got reavers in those shuttles as well. I don't think Bisu's got reavers. Jangbi once again dropping in Zealots to try and harass Bisu's economy, but Bisu's got a DT there waiting for those Zealots, but looks like Jangbi's forced to cancel on, I believe, a photon cannon that Bisu was building in that base. But again, the main forces of these two opponents continue to just hold each other at bay and continue to posture for strong positions, but looks like Jangbi's finally ready to make a move, because he's just almost 2-1 against Bisu's forces, and I have to be honest, guys, I'm not a fan of this map. I'm not a fan of, even though we've seen a good game of StarCraft, I'm not a fan of the style of play that this map enforces, in terms of just not allowing a player to maneuver. And I think we are likely to see prolonged games on this map, and looks like Jangbi's actually going for Bisu's expansion at the 3 o'clock position, going up the ramp, deciding that he's just going to try and break the door down there to try and lure Bisu away while he pushes alongside the cliff. And finally we're having a massive battle. Both players battle lines in the middle. Bisu with only the 1 Reaver. Storms all over the place. It's impossible to tell whose storms there are, but you've got to feel that Bisu's probably taken more losses than Jangbi has, and Jangbi had a lot of reserves left, so Jangbi is now pulling out his reserves. He seems to have still Bisu again with some great storms, managed to cast off Jangbi's Reaver, and Bisu, does he have a hope here? He's managed to keep his Reavers alive. He's pulling them back, but Jangbi's Zealots are getting through. Jangbi lost his Reavers first, and now Bisu's lost his Reavers, and unfortunately for Bisu in the end, he fought a great fight there. Jangbi with about 1 full group of units remaining, Archons and Dragoons and Zealots, managing to close out the kill, and Bisu GG's out. What a great game of StarCraft, and brilliant play from Jangbi, it has to be said. On that sort of form, you've got to wonder why this kid hasn't done better and taken some sort of OSL or MSL, considering the kind of form he's shown against Bisu in this game. I guess perhaps all of his other matchups are not as strong as his Protoss versus Protoss, but tremendous play from Jangbi there and Samsung Khan, and not only has he done a favor for himself and for his team, but he's also done a favor for Stork by taking Bisu out, damaging his confidence in Protoss versus Protoss, and a pained grimace spread across Bisu's face. He is not happy. 3-2 to Samsung Khan, guys. This is Klazart. Thanks for listening.